Greetings Ultra Magnus fans, and the day has finally come. In some of the videos that I have recently uploaded, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about, something major in the upcoming videos, and today's the day. We are going to be talking about every single Ultra Magnus video. Now, as prideful as that sounds, that I have found every Ultra Magnus toy, I know there is a big possibility that I may have missed one or two, and I trust that you guys will let me know in the comments, because that's going to be helpful to me and to every other Ultra Magnus collector out there. But I did try to gather as many as I could. A lot of these are already in my collection, and a lot of these are still, stuff that I'm looking for. But I was just basically aiming to create like a sort of list for people who love Ultra Magnus and collect the character specifically. Now, a few things. So yeah, obviously this includes Ultra Magnus toys. This is going to include pretty much every single Ultra Magnus toy out there, whether transforming or non-transforming, that I could find, of course. I did have to get the help of the internet on a lot of this, so I did go to TFW 2005 and Cybertron.com and TFWiki to make sure that I had backup sources for the stuff that I couldn't find myself. So yeah, let's get started. So the very first Transformer toy for Ultra Magnus is actually... Another thing I wanted to mention is that this list might include a couple of things that you might not consider as counting towards your particular list. So you'll have to forgive me, but I did want to cover as many things for as many people as possible. So this may include, number one, third-party figures. I know some of you are exclusively not collecting third-party figures and are, completely loyal to Hasbro and Takara. That's fine, but for this list, I'm going to include them. Some of the dates may be a bit off, so please forgive me. These are estimate years as to when they were released. Number two, knockoff figures. Knockoff figures are also listed in this particular list. And the third one is there may be just white Optimus Primes that I will include just because. Now, whether or not you consider those to be Ultra Magnus toys, that's really up to you. Your mileage may vary, but I'll still include them so that you know that they're there. So now, first off, I wanted to talk about the very first Transformers figure that I owned, and the very first Ultra Magnus figure that was ever out there, ever. So that will be the 1985 Transformer Junior figure. So here it is. That's the as you notice, rather, this is a smaller version of the Transformers Optimus Prime G1 style, and this has some differences with that particular mold. Like you have to pop the head off to transform it into truck mode, and it does not it doesn't have clear windows. You have to remove the wrists, just like the original G1, and it doesn't have seats in the front. So, but yeah, essentially it's pretty much the same. It's just smaller. You can consider it deluxe size. Some people consider it Legends class. So yeah, there you go. So that's the very first Transformers Junior figure for Ultra Magnus, and the very first Transformers figure ever for Ultra Magnus, and it did come in a couple of packs. So the one I got was the one with the cardboard trailer, as seen here. So I lost that cardboard trailer, and in the process of restoring a G1 Transformers Junior Ultra Magnus, so I'll be recreating that trailer. Then there's also a 2-pack with Galvatron. So the fun thing is, there's actually a vinyl that came out in the very next year, 1986, a Transform Junior vinyl that basically is Ultra Magnus, but this time in armored form. So he has a Transform Junior transformable figure and a Transform Junior vinyl. Now you're probably wondering, X, how does that work? Because there are certain Transformers Junior figures that are transforming figures and, you know, made of die cast and plastic, and there are Transform Junior vinyls as well. Now we're already crossing over to 1986, so might as well talk about that. What people believe to be the very first Ultra Magnus figure. Now this one is G1 Ultra Magnus. I love this figure. Like I said, the main differences from the Junior is that this one has clear windows and can turn its head, you know, so that the head just tucks in when in alt mode. This was re-released a few times, in 2000 most notably with a Shining variant, and in 2001 they released what was the original colors, the Diaclone one, and they made it basically the movie trailer version. Thing is, it is missing a couple of things from its Japanese version, namely the pilot, because most Diaclone figures had pilots. Back when they were transferred over to Transformers, they lost those pilots, and this one also had a super buggy that was not released, but it was released in some other countries, I believe. So for that, I got a Beachcomber. Just, you know, throwing that out there. Forever wants to have a buggy to go with your Voyager scale, because this is a Voyager scale Transformers figure. Alright, so next up we have the 1986 voice synthesizer. You can use your own voice and it kind of changes your voice. I have not seen one in person, so I don't exactly know how this works. I don't really plan on adding it to my collection unless I find one for a reasonable price. Now next up is the 1986 stand-up jigsaw puzzle. I wouldn't have included this, but I did include the cardboard trailer, so I felt like, you know, just fair. So there's a stand-up jigsaw puzzle. You can literally build an Ultra Magnus from cardboard entirely. So I don't know if you'd want to count that, but you know, it's out there, it exists, and that was also 1986. There was also a 1986 release of a watch, a transforming watch, you know, transform into a like a sort of SD version of Ultra Magnus. This was re-released for Generation 2 back in 1993 as well. So if you guys are looking for something that transforms into anything other than a car carrier or a truck, you're in luck. There, he transforms into a watch. Okay, anyway, so yeah, in 1986 as well, there was basically a gum toy figure of Ultra Magnus, and that was released, if I'm not mistaken, by Kabaya, and it basically does look like the G1 Ultra Magnus. I don't have this one. I would love to have this one, to be honest. It looks cool. It looks a bit like, you know, a mini pla. Just the simple kind of, you know, back in the day, not complex kinds of today. And then let's move on to the next year, 1987. We have the decoy style Transformers Ramune or Ramone, whatever you call it, I forget. But these are those lemon candy toy figures. They're called the decoy style Transformers toys, and there are bigger ones called Forms Robo. So they look like this. They come in a bunch of different colors. Some are in red, some are in blue. A few years pass and nothing comes out Ultra Magnus related. By the time 1990 rolls out, there is what we call parody deformed Ultra Magnus figure, which is sort of an SD style or super deformed figure. It comes in pieces. It's in red, blue, and gold. But yeah, it's not colored. If you wanted to paint them, go ahead. A whole 10 years happens and nothing for Ultra Magnus, as far as I know, or as far as I was able to check. But in 2000, and then re-released in 2003, were the Super Collection or Heroes of Cybertron figures. So there were there was the regular Ultra Magnus, there was the Diaclone version, which has been you know, since called Delta Magnus. And then you've got your silver or pewter, whichever one you want to call it, or clear versions of this as well. So if you want to just have this little like hard vinyl or hard rubbery plastic figure. It's not transforming, it's just basically a fun figure to have. And then same in 2000, then we got a new version of Ultra Magnus. Now this one, a lot of people say it's Ultra Magnus in name only. I mean, I kind of see it. He's still a car carrier, and they kind of tied him to Optimus Prime a lot more, but this time for the Robots in Disguise series. So this is the Robots in Disguise Leader Class Ultra Magnus. This is bigger than your typical Voyager class nowadays. But they do go nicely together, and he does have a working car carrier alt mode, which I like. It's just that when he transforms into bot mode, his legs are super hollow, which is funny because it's basically the trailer back, which it's essentially wireframe. But I love it. I chased for it for quite a while. I got it. I'm super happy to get it. Dark versions also were released. Clear versions were released. So yeah, that's the RID Leader Class Ultra Magnus. And then a tiny version of this was made. Basically, you can call it Legion Class or Commander Class, the old Commander Class, a small one, which is the RID Spy Changer. So this was released in two colors, if I'm not mistaken, the typical blue and gray one, and a black and blue version. So there, it's pretty cool. It transforms a lot like the original, but its back is solid, so it's not a working car carrier or anything like that. It's typically sized almost like a Matchbox figure. Now, next up, in 2003, so they came up with the MyClone Ultra Magnus. So this MyClone series of figures are basically SD figures that stand on hexagons. And what you could do is you could swap out the heads, the limbs, and parts of them with other Transformers MyClone figures. Pretty interesting. I have Starscream of this. I was able to get RC for a friend and review it as well. And I was able to get Ultra Magnus. Reviews are up on my channel if you want to check those out. And then the next one is in 2003. There was a Kabaya Generation 1 bottle cap collection. This was just an inch. And it is kind of monochromatic. So yeah, there you go. And then 2004, there's a Hard Hero bust. Now I know not everybody here collects busts, but here, if you want it, here it is. Okay, there's a few more of this that you might not consider for your particular Ultra Magnus collection, but I'm still gonna throw it in there just in case. And then the next one in 2004 also, Palisades Toys came up with a 6-inch Polystone Ultra Magnus figure. This one was limited to 500 pieces, only made of polystone. And then in 2004, they released the world's smallest Transformer. Technically speaking, it's Convoy White, or White Convoy. But, that's Ultra Magnus. We know that. So, yeah, there you go. And then in 2004, we get another, not Ultra Magnus, but an Ultra Magnus in name only. When they redecoed Overload over here and turned him into Ultra Magnus. I do like this one though, because it combines with another figure from this year, which is a redeco of Energon Optimus Prime, and you can combine them, which is pretty awesome. Now, I didn't get the originals, but what I did end up doing was repainting an Overload and an Optimus Prime, so I could just get them for myself, because I could anyway. So yeah, same result. Very happy about how that turned out. And yeah, so there you go. That's for 2004. And then in 2005, this is probably one of the best Ultra Magnus releases for a lot of people. I don't have one myself. It's still a dream of mine, which is the MP2. This is basically a redeco of the masterpiece Optimus Prime. It looks fantastic. I love it. And then the next one is in 2006. this is an estimate year. It could be 2005, 2004, but 2006 is when I believe this came out, and I have a review of this. Encore transforms Robot Masters Ultra Magnus, basically a redeco of Optimus Prime. So yeah, Robot Masters came out, and then they came out with a variation that was white. Now this came with either a gray or a red or a black trailer. Now the ones I got were all gray, so pretty interesting. I love this mold, no matter how simplistic it is. It's one of the early um, Legends class figures for Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus, and it does match the Transformers Junior scale and look, kind of, but a little bit modernized for that era in the 2000s. One of my favorite molds to this day. I made a ton of customs of Optimus Prime using the Ultra Magnus mold. And anyway, next up we've got 2007. So we have the Robot Heroes Ultra Magnus hard vinyl figure. And yeah, that's another one of my favorites, one of my shelf displays. And there you go. And 2007, we had Revoltech Ultra Magnus. So this is basically an action figure from the Revoltech line, which is still going to this day, if I'm not mistaken. Licensed out to different, they are licensed to by different companies like Marvel, etc. So they have, a lot of lines, not just Transformers. And then in 2006, we got... Oh, actually, sorry. I just realized that I swapped the years around. But okay, 2006, we had Laser Ultra Magnus 2, which is basically a redeco of Laser Optimus Prime. So a lot of people are thinking we can probably get a legacy one as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's basically a Western Star truck that has a tanker trailer, and yeah, it's bigger than the typical Voyager chugged figure. It's more like a leader class, and yeah, it's nice. It's big. It doesn't fit in with a lot of your truck figures, to be honest, but it looks great. I have the clear one, the platinum version. Year of the Horse, was it? I forget, but I don't have the Laser Ultra Magnus. Hey, if I get possessed one of these days, I might just customize it too. I don't know, but I kind of like the clear one. Anyway, so next up, also 2006, first four figures made an SD version of Ultra Magnus dropping the Matrix. This is a funny figure, and this is limited only to 500. It's pretty cute, actually. There's also a Delta Magnus version of this, and yeah, it's limited to 500. So I don't even think I'll be able to get one of these, to be honest. And next one, back to 2007, we've got Transformers Classics. Now, the Transformers Classics figure is pretty popular. It was released either with Skywarp or Optimus Prime, depending on where you bought it. It had blue legs, so it was kind of different. And that we're gonna come back to that in a bit, because there's a couple of things you can do with that figure to kind of make it even more Ultra Magnus-y than it already is, because it's essentially a white repaint of Optimus Prime. Next up, we've got 2007 Sport Convoy Marine. This one is not labeled Ultra Magnus, but wow, I mean, look at him. He's essentially Ultra Magnus. Don't have this one either. Plan on getting one. It's pretty cool. 2007 also, we've got the Transformers Deluxe Classics or Universe Ultra Magnus knockoff. This was based on the Transformers Deluxe. I don't say deluxe class, I mean like deluxe packaging. Like there was a nice black and silver packaged Optimus Prime that they kind of passed off as a deluxe or DX, if you prefer, release of Optimus Prime that was updated, and they made it up in Ultra Magnus colors, which is blue, red, and white. Pretty cool. I don't have one either. I just saw this image. And then next one, you've got 2007's music label, Transformers music label, iPod speaker convoy. Now, some people don't consider this Ultra Magnus, but essentially, it looks a lot like the G1 Ultra Magnus, just with a different trailer. And doesn't transform into an armored mode or anything, but the white cab is there. Next up, oh, by the way, there's also a Masterpiece 711 down the line, but that one is white and gray. Doesn't really scream Ultra Magnus. 2007 rolled around, and there's a couple different Ultra Magnuses for this one. There's a G1 inspired one, but it does leave a lot to be desired for some collectors, but it's still nice to have. It's kind of deluxe sized. It's being touted as a 6-inch figure, but I don't think it's 6 inches. I feel like it's just like 5.5 or 5. I have to check, but it's not 6 inches really. And you've got the War Within white redeco of Optimus Prime, which is basically a deluxe Ultra Magnus in car form. Pretty neat. I like it personally. It never actually happens in the comics, but I still like it. Yeah, so yeah. The only issue with this series, guys, for titanium is the joints would be either super tight or super loose. So just be careful what you get, because these are almost entirely die cast with few plastic parts. Very few plastic parts. Next up, we've got... Okay, 2008 Fans Project City Commander. I told you we'd come back to Transformers Classics because what happened was Fans Project. This is not a single Ultra Magnus figure they released, but an upgrade kit to build up your Transformers Classics into Ultra Magnus that's kind of G1 inspired. And it looks cool as hell. It has a lot of sharp edges. So yeah, it's really cool. They do a few versions of this. They do a Delta Magnus version. They do a black version of this as well. And it's insane how popular this particular upgrade really got. A lot of people love this and have it to this day. And yeah, you can get some other upgrade kits for this. I got the iGear kit myself, which you can check out my channel for. Next up, you've got a completely different Ultra Magnus again. This time, the 2008 animated Ultra Magnus, which was also redecoed into Roadbuster Ultra Magnus. I don't particularly like the redeco, but I love the animated one. It's very large. It's a military truck basically, fully decked out with all the bells and missiles. You get my point. So yeah, and this one came with what would become his iconic hammer. And the hammer would be kind of a thing that would, moving forward, be something that he'd be known for as well. So there you go. Now, next up, you've got 2009's Diamond Select Bust Ultra Magnus. This is probably the second bust that we have for Ultra Magnus. If you're not a bust collector, just, ignore that I said that. And then 2009, you've got an Ultra Magnus speaker head. This is officially Hasbro, but really just a redeco of Optimus Prime again. And then in 2010, you've got Alternity Ultra Magnus, which is a deluxe sized, but I don't want to call it deluxe class. It's actually not classed for anything, but that's the size of it. And it's mostly made of die-cast parts, a far cry from the titanium series. This is so excellently done. It's basically a model car that transforms into a robot. Very cool. And you can have your human figures that are in scale with your Masterpiece and Chug figures ride in the Ultra Magnus there. And yeah, it's pretty neat. I love putting it with my other deluxe figures because it looks so cool and regal, to be honest. It's got pearlesced white paint too. Okay, next up we've got 2010. Kabaya had another gum figure. This was a little. It's basically G1 too, but they kind of modernized it a bit, and yeah, took some design cues from some newer figures. I think there's a little bit of titanium influence in there too. And we're gonna come back to that, by the way. I'll tell you why right now, because there's gonna be a knockoff of it, which is also pretty nice. Anyway, so I'm gonna move on now. 2010 introduced also Hero Toys. Yeah, there's a bunch of E's in there. WST Ultra Magnus. It's a third-party Ultra Magnus figure. If I'm not mistaken, they made several repaints of this. I wasn't able to track every single one down, but it looks so cute. It looks like a tiny G1 Ultra Magnus. It's so adorable. Okay, so next up, you've got 2011's Make Toys Battle Tanker. So yeah, there you go. And then 2012, you've got Transformers Prime Robots in Disguise Proto Voyager class. I call it the Proto because really this one is not at all show accurate. It's just, you know, you have an Ultra Magnus there. There's a Cyberverse Commander class, which is basically the same design. They both use the prototype design, which was never used in the show. Alright, so next up, you've got 2012. So Transformers Classics comes back once again. This time in the United or Henkei packaging with Ultra Magnus as an all-white redeco this time around. Now, possibly this was made to go with the Fans Project trailer that was made earlier. TF Wiki says so, and a few other fans say so as well. I can't confirm or deny. I wasn't collecting at that time, but let me know what you guys think. Now, in 2012, they also... This one is my... Oh, hi. This is my cat, Razor Claw. Not named after the Transformers character. You don't like Razor Claw from Transformers? He doesn't. Anyway, so yeah. Next up, you've got the Transformers Collectors Club Ultra Mammoth. This is my holy grail of all Ultra Magnus figures because where I am, it's crazy expensive. And to be honest, it's simple enough. I feel like I'll just make one in the future. If I get, you know, too ticked off at trying to find one for a decent price, I can just redeco it from what it was redecoed from anyway, which was the Neo Big Convoy. I'm pretty confident in my repainting skills. Next up, we've got 2013 rather, knockoff Fans Project white trailer. Now this one is a knockoff. I can't find the brand of who made this, but you can just look for Fans Project knockoff white and you'll see it all over the internet. It's not 1:1 though. They did add something. So the trailer hitch has a little bit of a scabbard and it comes with a white sword. So there, they add something to the entire package. And then next up, you've got 2012 Generations FOC Ultra Magnus. We will come back to this because this one also gets an upgrade kit. Pretty neat. And then in 2013, there's a Bot Shots Ultra Magnus, but this one, it's pretty much in name only. So erase this, replace it with these. So, yeah, because the original one is just Cybertron Optimus Prime, really. But these ones, these actually look like Ultra Magnus. So these are Polar Assault Optimus and Clean Optimus. That's what they call it, Clean Optimus for some reason. And they're a lot more Ultra Magnus-y than what was called Ultra Magnus. So personally, I would just go for these. But if you want to really go for the other one, you know, knock yourself out. Now, next up, you've got 2013 Transformers Beast Hunters Voyager class. Now, this one has weird wings on its back, but most people who want to go TV accurate just kind of chuck it in the accessories bin because you don't really need it. But it's mostly accurate to the TV series Transformers Prime. It's just that colors wise, it would have been nice if it was metallic blue. But later on, we'll get back to this too, because there's gonna be an interesting repaint of this, which is, you know, it's not super accurate to the TV show, but it's leagues better. Okay, next up, we've got Loyal Subjects Ultra Magnus. This is just a 3-inch figure, and it's just really a redeco of Optimus Prime, but you know, still cool. And then 2013, we get a Thrilling 30 figurine, which is surprisingly not a retool of Optimus, a redeco rather of Optimus Prime. It's his own. He's his own figure. And then in 2013, we get the Platinum Edition Weaponizer Transformers Prime Ultra Magnus, which is laughably bad. Laughably bad, guys. I think I had a review of this one and I just kind of couldn't go through it because it was just so laughably bad. I don't like it at all. But it makes for a nice like set piece when it's standing in bot mode, but in alt mode it's a disaster. It's not even it's a lot bigger than Leader Class. Don't crucify me for this, but personally, because of this appearance in one of the Transformers movies, I forgot which one. It's the Mark Wahlberg one where he came up the first time. I believe it's the third movie. Okay, so there's a literal. I screamed when I saw this in theaters because, again, the Transforms Junior was my first Ultra Magnus figure. I literally grew up with it. So as soon as I saw that white flat nose cab, I was like, ah! That definitely is Ultra Magnus. There's an evasion mode Optimus Prime. This one was not released everywhere though. It was an exclusive, but good news because KBB remade this figure. There's a knockoff that's every bit as good as the original. Unless you're just really into Hasbro, then good luck chasing the original. But really the KBB one is fine. And then 2014, remember I did tell you that we would come back to the FOC Ultra Magnus because you can dress it up in this Mabsuda PB01 upgrade kit by Transformazing. And this one's pretty interesting because you know how the FOC Ultra Magnus is blue, which is a blue redeco of the red Optimus Prime figure. The funny thing is you can just upgrade it entirely blue, but there's also a white version which I just found, which is also pretty cool actually. Yeah, so an all white Mabsuda upgrade kit. Now, the thing about this is they were initially going to release more parts of this to make a functioning combining trailer. They were not able to do that, so you're gonna have to make do with the parts and just kind of stack them together. They don't really work. Very sad, but it is what it is, I suppose. 2014, they also released Transformers Prime Cyberverse Commander Class Ultra Magnus. This one is an accurate sculpt to the show. So yeah, it even has the hammer of Solus Prime, or the forge of Solus Prime. And then you've got 2014 also, an Ultra Magnus pen. This was made by Sentinel. This is still available. I can still see this in spots. And in 2014, there was an SDCC exclusive of Creon Class of 1984, which included 30 Creon figures, including a white Optimus that was labeled as an Ultra Magnus. This is weird because it says Class of 1984, but he came in in 1986. So I'm not sure why that is. But okay, cool, whatever. 2014 was also the year that KFC Citizen Stack, as far as I know, don't crucify me if I'm wrong, this was also the year it was released, which is weird and notable because this is also the year that the MP22 or the Ultra Magnus armored version was released. And when I say armored version, it's really just two modes, from car carrier to armored bot mode. It skips the white cab mode and the white Optimus mode. So in the same year, they both came out, and I have a comparison video. Check out my channel as well. I do prefer the MP22, but I will say that there is a knockoff version made much later by Toy House Factory. Don't know what the year is, but it's a lot nicer. They fixed the butt flap and a few other things. I do prefer that, and that's what I got. Okay, just missing the coin though. Next up, 2015, Transformers Takara Adventure. This was the one I was talking about. That was an accurate redeco, a more accurate redeco rather, of the Prime Beast Hunters Ultra Magnus. This time the Forge of Solus Prime is not silver, it is gold, but the thing is, you can still upgrade this with some Doctor Wu parts for an even better Forge of Solus Prime, and you can get the blaster too. I have a video also of that. Check it. In 2015, there was a Transformer Master Made SD Titan Metroplex SDT01, but this came with an Ultra Magnus figure. The reason I don't have that Ultra Magnus is because I don't have the Metroplex, and yeah, I don't want to get the Metroplex just for the Ultra Magnus. So yeah, good luck to me with that. But yeah, in 2015 there was a knockoff of the MP10, which is a white Ultra Magnus. So basically this was an updated version of the Optimus Prime from Masterpiece, but done in white. I don't have this, it's in my list. And then 2015, Transformers Universe Legion Class Ultra Magnus. Very, very tiny Legion Class figure. It's just a tiny truck. There's something unique about it though, because it has gray legs for some reason. I like it. It's a new take, but it's definitely Ultra Magnus. You still have some of the light blues there as well. And next up, you've got the Tiny Titans Ultra Magnus from RID. I have this one. So Robots in Disguise basically released some blind bag figures, and one of them was Ultra Magnus in fixed stance. So yeah, pretty neat. Next up, 2015's Kids Logic Mecha Nations Ultra Magnus. Okay, so this one, yeah, I don't have this one either. And then you've got also in 2015 another Robots in Disguise Legion Class. Funny because, you know, they just came out with the Legion Class for Transformers Universe, but there's also a Legion Class for Robots in Disguise, which is a white and blue redeco. But 2015 was also the year that I think the best Ultra Magnus figure was ever released, which is the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. So this was also redecoed into the Legends Ultra Magnus, which had a better deco, and later into the Platinum Edition Ultra Magnus, which had like a candy tone blue and red, which is really nice. I actually kind of want to get that too. These are perfect Chug Voyagers, which, you know, you would be able to use the car carrier as intended. And you could also get the Perfect Effect Core Ultra Magnus, which was made or knocked off by KBB into Core Magnus, if I'm not mistaken, later down the line. So yeah, you could have all four modes if you put those together. So I do recommend getting those both. Then in 2015 also, Top Beam released TSD02, which was the Super Deformed Ultra Magnus. This was basically a super form, or souped up form rather, of their Optimus Prime, because this one has armor. It's not really, I don't particularly like it because it's entirely parts forming and a lot of stuff gets left behind. Honestly, it's kind of a lot of trouble to transform. If you wanted to it could do all four modes, by the way, but if you wanted to do all four modes, you'd be better off getting 4 copies of this and just keeping them intact. Oh, by the way, and the promo shots of this show painted, because these are essentially model figures. you would probably, like I said, want to keep them intact and not transform them back and forth if you paint them, because the tolerances on these are pretty tight, meaning they will definitely scratch your paint. So just a little bit of a note there. 2015, we also had a Core Optimus Prime with BLZ0H8 upgrade kit by Studio Beelzebus. Now, as it is, the Core Optimus Prime isn't really an Ultra Magnus, but if you do upgrade, it does make for a slightly more passable Ultra Magnus. So, highly recommended, guys. But like I said, take it or leave it. You don't need to if you don't want to. 2015 also saw the release of the Iron Factory EX04 City Commander, also done in C or Classic version and G for Delta Magnus. Now this one gets remade or upscaled later down the line, and you'll see what I mean. And then 2016, this one is another one of those that I don't really consider, but I do have to mention because it is a white Optimus Prime rather. Milk and Soap Studios made VA001 Optimus Prime. This is a vinyl figure. If I'm not mistaken, this is 12 inches. So it's got clear parts and white parts, kind of gradienty. Pretty nice representation. It doesn't scream Ultra Magnus to me for some reason. 2016 also saw the release of a couple of really cute Ultra Magnus figures, which is the first one is the cute Transformers Ultra Magnus. This one is in my cart. I haven't bought this yet because I feel like it's too expensive. It's just there. I haven't bought it yet. And the alt mode transforming Ultra Magnus figure. Alt modes are these funny like SD heads with transforming bodies. So it's just the bodies that transform. And if you pull on the Autobot or Decepticon logo, it will automorph into alt mode or bot mode. And then in 2017, you've got KBB MP10V Ultra Magnus. So basically, this is the MP10 Masterpiece mold, but made in Voyager scale to kind of match, your Chug collection. I don't have this yet. 2017 or 2016, I'm not super sure. But they released ITF-01, Abyss Voyager scaled WFC Optimus Prime in several colors, one of them being Ultra Magnus colors, but it's kind of also just white and gold Optimus Prime, so mileage may vary there. Up to you if you want to consider it. It's a nice toy though. Like it's a shiny WFC Ultra Magnus. I like it. It's in my list. I haven't particularly got it, but I will let you know once I do. In 2017, they released one of the tiniest Ultra Magnus figures ever, which is the Titan's Return Titan Master Ultra Magnus pack-in with RC. I say it's a pack-in, and most Titan Masters, yes, they're packed in, but they are integral to the figure because they form the head of the figure, but this one doesn't. It's literally just the head of Ultra Magnus. It goes with RC, but RC has her own headmaster, and it's not this. So it's pretty cool. A good friend of mine got the RC and sold me the Ultra Magnus, and it was one of the happiest days of my life. And okay, so next up, we've got 2017 Hero Hobby QA01 Tiny Magnus, which is another SD Ultra Magnus that I don't have. In 2017, you've got Imaginarium Art Ultra Magnus. And in 2017 was when they released the Perfect Effect Core Magnus that was later KO by KBB, which went with your 2015 Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus so that you could do all 4 modes. Again, I highly, highly, highly recommend. I don't think I've done a review on this, and I think the reason why is because a lot of people have already done some stellar reviews on what this looks like. It is the perfect Ultra Magnus up to this day, 2022. Next up, 2017 still, Ultimetal Ultra Magnus, the most expensive Ultra Magnus ever, as far as I know. And Jesus, this one is huge, and it's Actually, it's glorious. To be honest, if I was just a rich man, I would definitely scoop this up and make this a centerpiece. But no, we're not going to do that yet. In 2017, the second fans project armor for Ultra Magnus was released, also made to go with the Transformers Classics figure, but this time it doesn't add on to your classics figure and become an armor afterward. No, that's not what it does. It essentially transforms your Ultra Magnus or converts it into a blue truck mode, kind of like the Transformers Prime version. And what it does is it armors it up and makes it kind of larger and almost leader class, and it transforms into an armored Ultra Magnus, which is also very, 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 very cool. Okay, next up we've got Prime 1 Studios Premium Masterline White Optimus. No, this one was definitely promoted as Ultra Magnus, but it is a white Optimus. Oh, by the way, if anyone thinks that I don't like the concept of white Optimus, no, I love it. I love it. I grew up with it, and it's my whole jam when it comes to Transformers, to be honest. Next up, 2017, we've got Mech Fans Toys Upscale Ultra Magnus MF08 and MF08JP. So basically the modern and the classic colors. And also a retail version called Mechanical Commando, which came out here in the Philippines, but cheaper and with much less accessories. So supposedly made by Mech Fans Toys. Now this was what I was talking about earlier, which is an upscale of the Iron Factory City Commander 1. I do like this better because it's larger, and it also goes nicely with other Legends figures. It can sort of combine with them to form the trailer for my white caps. Next up, we've got Papa Toys Ultra Magnus Legends Class. This is still floating around. It's not one of the more popular Legends Class Ultra Magnus figures as far as I can see, because I don't know, maybe it's because of the awkward T there that and the largely red chest. It's not one of my preferences. I still do want to get it one day, but yeah, it's out there. Next up, we've got Transformers Masterpiece KOLT02 White Optimus. This one was based off the movie version of Optimus Prime, long-nosed cab, and oh my god, this looks amazing. So instead of the red and blue color scheme, you've got a white color scheme with blue flames instead of the orange flames that were in the movie version of Optimus Prime. Very, very cool. It's in my wants list too, to be honest. And then next up, Planet X Apollo PX14. This is basically FOC Ultra Magnus, but this time done in white, and with the video game aesthetic of the trailer, not trailer, but the armor, the tank armor. Very, very cool. It looks amazing in all four modes, to be honest. My only complaint is that it transforms like a bitch. So there you go. But it definitely looks awesome, and it's one of my favorite Ultra Magnus figures, aesthetically speaking, but not, from a perspective of, transforming it back and forth. Next up, you've got MS04 Magic Square Ultra Magnus 1.0. This one is also going to get upscaled later down the line. Wait, the MS04 can only go two modes, from car carrier mode to armored mode. This gets upscaled later. I'll tell you which one. And in 2019, there's an Ushi's Ultra Magnus, which is basically just a redeco of Optimus Prime, because Ushi's loves that sort of shit. And then next up, you've got 2019's Transformers War for Cybertron Siege Ultra Magnus, which is kind of cool. It's exactly how he appears in the Siege cartoon. He does die there, but okay. It gets redecoed in 2020 for the Netflix spoiler pack, which tells you, gives you a hint that he does die in the series. And in 2021, it does get re-released for premium finish, which is weird because they just make all the white parts gray. I didn't get that. Like literally didn't get that. I just left it in the shelf. I don't need it. And then 2020. So this is the thing that I was telling you about. The Magic Square figure was taken by MechFans Toys and upscaled into their second version of Ultra Magnus. So MechFans Toys just basically upscales other Legends Ultra Magnus figures. They just knock it off and, you know, they make their own version. And like I said, this one just basically turns 2 modes as well. In 2020, you've got your Furai model Voyager size, or Ultra Magnus, which is basically the white Optimus type thing. And I believe this was 2020 when they released the DX9 Toys Ranton Ultra Magnus. This one has a white trailer for some reason. Okay, so in 2021, there was a knockoff of the Siege Ultra Magnus called the BPF Ultra Magnus. I forgot what it's called exactly, but it's released by BPF. Didn't get this one because I'm already okay with that one. But if you wanted it upscaled for some reason, go ahead and get that. 2021, they retooled the Siege version and made it Kingdom Ultra Magnus. This one was supposed to be G1 inspired, but this figure is kind of a mess. Like in bot mode, it does what you probably would want it to do, which is be Ultra Magnus, but the proportions are kind of wonky. And there's a few videos out there who talk about that. I don't like it because it tries to achieve the 4 mode thing, but it doesn't do any of those successfully, I feel like. Sorry. Anyway, and then 2021, Iron Factory comes back with a vengeance with a new City Commander. I wonder if MechFans Toys is gonna come back and steal their shit again. But this one is an awesome comic-inspired City Commander. And then in 2021, Magic Square released the Light of Justice and Transporter upgrade Brobdingnang. Okay, so there you go. Now this one is interesting because what they do is it's a white Optimus, right? And then the MSPO2 Transporter upgrade, it's the trailer and it just shatters into like a billion pieces and turns into armor for Ultra Magnus. And you'd be forgiven for thinking, oh yeah, that's probably the only way they could do that. But then again, in 2021, also same year, New Age comes up with the Octavian, which is Ultra Magnus. And this is actually like two releases but packaged as one figure. What they do is they release Ultra Magnus that's able to turn into 4 different forms, just like the Magic Square one, but this time it doesn't have to shatter into a million pieces. It creates a perfectly engineered trailer that transforms into Ultra Magnus's armor. I love it so much. Like, this is probably one of my favorite Ultra Magnus molds and my favorite G1 Ultra Magnus mode, I have to say. And I have videos of, you know, how a little bit over-engineered the white cab is, but perfectly engineered the trailer is in my channel as well. Go check those out. And then in 2021, they released the I believe this was 2021. I could be wrong, but this was released in Dollar General in the US and in Vista Mall in the Philippines. SD Toy Super Robots. I just had a video of this. This was made from the Kabaya mold, the second Kabaya gum mold. And yeah, it looks pretty neat actually. It's just that this one is done in gray and green instead of blue and white. So if you want to customize yourself Kabaya mold, this one is perfect. The only difference from the Kabaya mold that I could see is the cab is a little more unique. It's not a straight up Optimus Prime cab front. They changed the molding and they left the missiles on the top of the figure for some reason, on top of the pillars of the shoulders. In 2022, they released Cost Performance CPO1. This one, I mean, okay. We've got Legends Ultra Magnus figures now figuring out how to do the 4-mode Ultra Magnus thing, but cost performance goes back to, just 2 modes, which is car carrier, armored mode. So, okay. Still on my list though. And then in 2022, the tiniest Ultra Magnus figure ever, very tiny, the Behold Galvatron set had a bunch of minifigures that you could put in your in with your Unicron HasLab figure, and it's just like literally this big, and it's cast in gray, and it's a minifigure. There you go. It's one of my favorites. And then in 2022, Nano Metal Figs by Jada Toys came out with Ultra Magnus. This one was released in a series. Not in a series, sorry. In a set, rather. I was able to buy the single one of this and it got lost in the mail, unfortunately. Hopefully I'll be able to get another one in the future. Then 2022, we had the Shattered Glass Ultra Magnus. This one was basically Kingdom version that was made into the Shattered Glass Ultra Magnus. I haven't gotten this yet. I don't have like a dying need to get this because how many times they either redecoed or retooled this mold, they never really got me to get it again because it's again not the most successful way to have done Ultra Magnus, so I'm not in any rush to get this. And then in 2022, this one is funny. I'm sorry, forgive me for including this, but I do kind of have to. Six shot as a statue rather, and you've got Ultra Magnus's dead body as a base. I'm so sorry. I just have to include that there. It's a nice figure though. Let me check that out. And then next one, you've got in 2023 the upcoming releases. Okay, so we've got Super 7's reaction figure. This one is from the Transformers movie. It's a little weird because it's got blue chest windows. Would have just wanted to have the red panels just like in the movie, but okay, sure. It's nice because we get to have some action mastery figures, so I like it. And then you've got X-Transbots MX22T Commander Stack. This one transforms from, again, trailer to armored mode and nothing in between, only 2 modes. But the fun thing is, other than the really nicely done sculpt, of course, it also has an only human Ultra Magnus figure. Oh, I forgot to mention that Dr. Wu also released an only human figure for Ultra Magnus. So here it is. And speaking of Dr. Wu, they also released their Optimus Prime maybe 2021 in a white deco. So that's technically Ultra Magnus 2. And then so that's basically like almost a core like Ultra Magnus, and very soon they'll be coming up with this Matrix Workshop Doctor Wu collaboration armor piece that will go on top of that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. These are just the renders, so yeah, we don't have photos of the live product yet. Another thing I wanted to talk about was a TFC, Target Droids Ultra Magnus. This was packaged with Skywarp. This is pretty interesting because, we know Ultra Magnus is supposed to be a Voyager scale bot, but this one is a smaller bot, and it doesn't turn into a truck, but it turns into a blaster instead, which is pretty cool. Like, there's a whole series of this, and even Skywarp doesn't turn into a plane, but also a blaster. All of the Target Droids do that. They're basically target masters. Not yet was able to find this, but I'm pretty excited for this as well because it looks like it's gonna add to whatever arsenal you have for your Transformers. Another thing I missed was the Red Series Hasbro official action figure. This is a 6-inch Ultra Magnus figure, a redeco of Optimus Prime. This is one of my favorite molds, to be honest. It doesn't transform, obviously, as it's just an action figure, but definitely one of the really good designs so far from that line. It's made from a kind of hard vinyl plastic as well. The last one that I have, at least, is Fantasy Model or Fans Toys. Maybe not Fans Toys, maybe Fans Toys, but this one is amazing, guys, because this one finally is a masterpiece scale Ultra Magnus that manages all 4 modes. So it's very exciting. I am very much looking forward to it. Anyway, guys, that has been everything so far that I was able to gather on Ultra Magnus. I'm sure I missed some. So, you know what? Do us all Ultra Magnus collectors a favor. And you know, if I got some years wrong, go ahead, comment down below. If I missed some stuff, go ahead, comment down below. Did you like that I included or not included some stuff? Comment down below. Let me know, okay? And if you're a fan of Ultra Magnus, you will notice that I have a lot of Ultra Magnus videos up here on my page. And, you know, Team Ultra Magnus videos as well. Follow me at x_Paco on Twitter. And then, of course, on Facebook, I have X's Toy Universe and The Art of X. And then if you want to follow my art page as well, The_Art of X. Like and subscribe, guys. Hit the bell icon to get notified if I come up with any more videos. And yeah, look forward to more Ultra Magnus and Transformers videos in the future. Till next time, guys, this has been X. Peace out.